Welcome to our deep dive into the world of rocks and minerals. Sounds like you're ready to take your knowledge to the next level. So we've got excerpts from Nature Guide Rocks and Minerals by DK to guide us.
Great choice. It's a great resource, especially for the fundamentals, like how minerals are the building blocks of rocks.
Yeah, makes sense. But I'm curious, is it like as straightforward as, say, flour and sugar are to a cake?
That's actually a great analogy. Minerals are these naturally occurring inorganic solids. Each one has its own chemical makeup and crystal structure, just like ingredients in your cake. And like some ingredients are more common in baking, silicon and oxygen are the most abundant elements in the Earth's crust.
Okay, so silicon and oxygen are like the flour and sugar of geology. It says here they make up 90% of the rocks at the Earth's surface. As part of silicate minerals like quartz, feldspar, and olivine. That's a lot of silicon and oxygen.
It is. Really shows how fundamental those elements are to the Earth. But the book also talks about something called radicals.
Radicals, that sounds a bit intense. What are those exactly?
Well, not as rebellious as they sound. They're basically groups of atoms that act like a single unit with a specific charge. Think of it like a team of atoms all working together.
Okay, I can see that. Any example of that in action?
Sure. The book uses the example of the carbonate radical. It's CO3. So one carbon and three oxygens all bonded together. And when that combines with zinc, you get the mineral smithsonite.
So it's all about these combinations, like putting together the right ingredients. That makes identifying minerals sound pretty straightforward. But is it really that simple? The book mentions color, but is that always a reliable way to tell them apart?
It can be tricky. Some minerals have these signature colors because of what they're made of. Like, azurite, it always has that brilliant blue because of the copper in it. But for other minerals, color can be misleading. Fluorite, for instance, comes in tons of colors, so color alone wouldn't tell you much.
Right, so color's helpful but not foolproof. So what are some other ways to identify them?
Well, the book talks about a few key characteristics: crystal habit, hardness, luster, cleavage, and fracture. Each of those gives you a clue, like building a personality profile for the mineral.
I like that, a mineral's personality profile. The book also gets into crystal systems. It says there are 7, each with its own geometry and symmetry, almost like a mineral's architectural style, right?
Exactly. Think about the cubic system. Minerals often form those perfect cube shapes there, like pyrite, fool's gold. Then you have the hexagonal system, where minerals like apatite form those 6-sided prisms.
So just like different architectural styles have their own features, each crystal system helps us, understand how minerals are structured. What about Vesuvianite? The book mentions that one too.
Vesuvianite, yeah. That one usually forms in a tetragonal system, so that means it has a square base and then a pyramid on top. It gives it a unique look with all these different faces.
Okay, so we've got minerals as the building blocks, their identifying features, and their crystalline structures. Now on to the fun stuff, gemstones. The book talks about their beauty, durability, and rarity. It's incredible to think that these dazzling stones are just, minerals that have been prized for centuries.
Yeah. And their history is fascinating. The book mentions how ancient civilizations believed gemstones had these, mystical values, a belief that's still around today. Imagine those early crafters, fashioning beads from carnelian and rock crystal back in Mesopotamia thousands of years ago. Shows our enduring fascination.
It's amazing how those ancient practices still influence us today.
Hmm.
The book also talks about gem mining, which sounds really intense. It mentions diamonds being recovered from kimberlite pipes. What are those exactly?
Picture this. A giant carrot shape deep underground. That's a kimberlite pipe, formed by volcanic eruptions millions of years ago. And they're pretty rare. Only a tiny fraction of them actually have diamonds. So getting to those diamonds requires some serious mining.
Wow, that does sound intense.
Mm.
But not all gemstones are mined from such depths, right? The book also mentions something called placer deposits.
That's right. Placer deposits are kind of like nature's sorting machine. Over time, erosion carries these durable gemstones downstream, and they get concentrated in riverbeds or beaches, even on the ocean floor.
So it's like nature has done some of the work for us. What about extracting gems from these placer deposits?
Well, the methods are much different than mining for diamonds. Panning and sieving are common, where you're basically relying on the gem's density to separate it from everything else.
Once those rough gemstones are unearthed, it's on to that fascinating process of gem cutting. I'm picturing these skilled artisans with, magnifying glasses meticulously shaping those tiny facets.
It's more than just shaping, though. It's about understanding how light interacts with the stone. Each facet is calculated to maximize the gem's brilliance, color, and value. It's like almost like sculpting with light.
The book mentions different cuts, like the rose cut, brilliant cut, and emerald cut. How are those different, and how do they, enhance a gem's appearance?
Well, it's all about maximizing what makes that gem unique. The rose cut, which was popular in the 17th century, has a flat base and a domed top with these triangular facets, so it creates a subtle sparkle. Then you've got the brilliant cut, developed around 1700. That's all about brilliance, especially for diamonds, lots of facets creating that sparkle. And then there's the emerald cut, designed specifically for, well, emeralds. It's rectangular with these stepped facets that protect the emerald and really emphasize that rich color.
So each cut has its purpose and history, enhancing the gem in its own way. Now let's shift gears from the sparkle to the foundation of it all, rocks. The book lays out the three main types: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic.
The rock cycle, a fundamental concept. Igneous rocks, they form from the cooling and solidifying of molten rock. So that could be magma deep within the earth or lava that erupts on the surface.
Like freezing liquid rock in time. What about sedimentary rocks?
Sedimentary rocks, they're formed from the accumulation and cementation of, sediments, like sand, pebbles, even the remains of ancient organisms. It's a slow process, often takes millions of years.
It's amazing how those tiny grains of sand can eventually form massive rock formations. And finally, metamorphic rocks. What makes them unique?
Metamorphic rocks, they're formed when existing rocks, whether they're igneous, sedimentary, or even other metamorphic rocks, get transformed by heat and pressure deep within the earth, almost like nature's pressure cooker, creating these amazing transformations.
Can you give me some examples of each type so I can really picture them?
Sure. For igneous rocks, think about pink granite. It has that beautiful combination of quartz, feldspar, and mica. And those minerals are what give it that pink hue. Then for sedimentary rocks, there's chalk. It's formed from the accumulation of, those microscopic marine organism skeletons. Incredible to think that those tiny creatures can create those majestic white cliffs we see in places like Dover.
Puts geological time into perspective. What about an example of a metamorphic rock?
Marble's a great one. It's formed when limestone is subjected to intense heat and pressure deep underground. Those forces recrystallize the calcite in the limestone, creating that beautiful crystalline texture we see in marble.
It's amazing how something as ordinary as limestone can become as beautiful and sought after as marble. Learning about all this makes me want to start my own rock and mineral collection. Any tips for a beginner collector?
The book has some good advice. Start with good guidebooks that identify collecting localities. And of course, safety is paramount. Avoid unsafe areas like mine dumps or unstable cliffs.
Safety first, definitely. What about tools? What do I need to get started?
A basic kit would include hammers, chisels, and always safety goggles and gloves. Don't want to be chipping away without protection.
Makes sense. Once I've, collected some specimens, how do I clean and display them?
The book suggests starting with, gentle methods, like a soft brush to remove any loose debris. And be really careful with delicate minerals. Avoid harsh cleaning agents or hot water, as those can damage them.
Good advice. And for displaying them.
It's a good idea to number each specimen and provide information about where it was found. Kind of turns your collection into this miniature geological museum.
I love that, turning it into a learning experience. Before we wrap up this part, the book highlights some interesting facts about specific minerals. Ready to dive into those?
Absolutely. I'm always up for a good mineral story.
Let's start with sulfur. It says here it's, associated with volcanoes and forms these beautiful yellow crystals. But what's really cool is that sulfur is a poor conductor of heat.
Mm-hmm.
So specimens can actually feel warm to the touch.
It's one of those things that surprises people. We usually think of rocks as being cold, but sulfur is different. And beyond that, it has a, wide range of uses, from industrial applications to even medicine.
Shows how something seemingly simple can be so versatile. Okay, what about a mineral with a more dramatic history?
The book mentions cinnabar, this bright red ore of mercury. It has a really long history, particularly in Spain, where it was heavily mined.
That striking red color is definitely eye-catching. It mentions that it was used as a pigment historically.
It was, but there's a catch. Cinnabar is incredibly sensitive to light and needs to be stored in the dark so it doesn't disintegrate. Really shows the importance of knowing a mineral's properties, not just for identification, but also for taking care of it.
Good point. Like each mineral has its own set of rules.
Hmm.
Okay, what about something a bit less dramatic but just as beautiful?
Chalcopyrite's a good example. It's this brassy yellow ore of copper, but it often tarnishes, creating these iridescent colors. Really beautiful.
I can imagine all those colors shimmering.
Yeah.
The book mentions chalcopyrite has an interesting crystal habit too.
It does. It often forms these tetrahedral crystals, sometimes found with quartz. It's all about those intricate geometries and chemical bonds.
Fascinating how those elements create such complex structures. What about something a little more mysterious?
Realgar might fit the bill. The book describes it as a bright red or orange ore of arsenic, but it needs to be handled carefully.
Why is that?
Realgar is incredibly sensitive to light and can actually disintegrate into this yellow powder, so it needs to be kept in the dark, similar to cinnabar.
Makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden in these minerals.
It really does. A reminder that the mineral world is full of surprises.
What about a mineral known for a unique smell?
The book talks about orpiment, a yellow mineral that often hangs out with realgar. It's got this resinous luster, and get this, when it's heated, it gives off a garlic smell.
Wow, that's not what I expected. It's amazing how each mineral has its own quirks, from the color and crystal structure to even smell. Before we move on, any other fun facts about minerals from the book that you want to share?
There are a few more that highlight the diversity of the mineral worlds. Like, do you know ice, even though it's temporary, is considered one of the most abundant minerals on Earth?
That's a good point. We don't usually think of ice that way, but it fits the definition, right? Naturally occurring, inorganic, solid. It's got a specific composition, and it even forms crystals.
Mhm.
Just a bit more fleeting than most.
Exactly. And then there's beryl. This mineral covers both common beryl and gemstone varieties like emerald and aquamarine. Fascinating how those trace elements can change a common mineral into a prized gem.
Like nature's adding a little magic. What about the most common minerals? Any that we might just overlook?
Well, the book reminds us that feldspars are the most abundant minerals in the Earth's crust. They're a huge part of many rocks we see every day, and they're, key ingredients in building materials and even help with soil fertility.
They're like the unsung heroes of the mineral world. Okay, last one. What about a mineral that's formed by living creatures?
Pearls are a great example. They're considered organic gemstones because they're made by mollusks as a way to protect themselves from irritants.
It's amazing how living organisms can create something so beautiful and lasting. Really blurs the lines between geology and biology. This has been a great start to our deep dive. We've covered so much, from minerals as those building blocks to the beauty of gemstones. And I'm really excited to get into the world of rocks in the next part. What stood out to you the most from what we've talked about so far?
It really is amazing, how something as small as a grain of sand, given enough time and pressure, can actually become a building block of a mountain. That's what's so cool about rocks. They're not just static objects, they're like records of the Earth's history.
I'm ready to dig deeper into that history.
Mhm.
So we left off talking about the three main types of rocks: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Let's break them down one by one.
Okay, sounds good. We can start with igneous rocks, those, fiery formations. They're born from the cooling and crystallization of molten rock, so either magma deep underground or lava erupting on the surface. Imagine those glowing rivers of lava slowly solidifying and those different minerals crystallizing out as the temperature drops.
Like molten soup, with different ingredients solidifying at different times. Speaking of ingredients, the book mentions granite. It's a prime example of an igneous rock. And we see granite everywhere, from countertops to buildings. It's so durable and comes in so many colors and patterns.
Yeah, and granite's, its aesthetic appeal comes from its mineral composition and how those minerals interlock. Think of pink granite, a classic example, with that beautiful blend of quartz, feldspar, and mica. It's that specific combination that gives it its unique pink hue.
It's fascinating how those minerals come together to create something so visually appealing and long-lasting. But not all igneous rocks are as visually striking as granite, are they?
Exactly. Take pegmatite, for example. This igneous rock is known for having, exceptionally large crystals. I mean, we're talking crystals that can grow to over 33 feet long, taller than a 3-story building.
Wow, that's incredible. Why are pegmatite crystals so large?
Well, pegmatites form in the final stages of magma cooling, when the remaining, molten rock is rich in water and unusual elements. That creates this environment where crystals can grow to enormous sizes, and those large crystals often have rare elements in them. So that makes pegmatites a real treasure trove of gemstones. Things like tourmaline, aquamarine, and topaz.
So pegmatites are like nature's jewelry boxes.
Okay.
Okay, so let's shift gears to sedimentary rocks. The book highlights how they form from the accumulation and cementation of, sediments, things like sand, pebbles, or even the remains of ancient organisms.
It's a slow and steady process, often takes, millions of years. Just imagine those tiny grains of sand or fragments of shell being, transported by wind or water, settling layer by layer, eventually getting compacted and cemented together. It's like nature's way of building a layered cake, one crumb at a time.
The book gives the example of chalk as a sedimentary rock
Hmm.
formed from the accumulation of those microscopic marine organism skeletons. It's amazing to think that those tiny creatures over vast stretches of time can create those majestic white cliffs we see in places like Dover.
Chalk cliffs are a powerful reminder of the vastness of geological time and the cumulative impact of those seemingly insignificant processes. Each layer in those cliffs represents, countless generations of those marine organisms that remain slowly accumulating and transforming into rock.
It's a humbling thought. The book also mentions conglomerate, a rock made up of rounded rock fragments. It sounds like a jumbled mix of different rock types all mixed together.
Conglomerate is like a geological mosaic with different pieces telling a story of transportation and deposition. Imagine those rounded fragments, tumbling along in a river or a glacier, being smoothed and rounded as they travel. They eventually settle down, get cemented together, and that creates this unique rock type.
Each rock fragment in that conglomerate is like a piece of a puzzle, offering clues about its journey and the environments it's traveled through. Now, let's dive into the world of metamorphic rocks, where existing rocks get a complete makeover.
It's like nature's ultimate recycling program. Metamorphic rocks form when those existing rocks are transformed by heat and pressure deep within the earth. It's like putting a rock through an intense workout, changing its texture, mineral composition, and even its appearance.
The book mentions marble, a classic example. It's a stunning transformation of limestone. It's fascinating how heat and pressure can take something as ordinary as limestone and turn it into something as beautiful and sought after as marble.
Yeah. Marble's transformation is a great example of how metamorphism can enhance a rock's beauty and usefulness. Think of those intricate veins and swirls in marble, created by the recrystallization of minerals under that intense pressure. It's really a testament to the artistry of geological processes.
The book also talks about serpentinite, a metamorphic rock known for its green and yellow banding. It sounds like an abstract painting created by nature.
Serpentinite is a product of a process called serpentinization. That's when water reacts with certain minerals and rocks like peridotite, altering their composition and creating those beautiful serpentinite formations.
So water plays a crucial role not just in erosion and transportation, but also in the transformation of rocks deep within the earth. What are some other interesting metamorphic rocks?
The book mentions soapstone, another metamorphic rock. It's known for its softness. It's composed mostly of talc, one of the softest minerals we know of. It has this greasy feel to it, and you can even scratch it with your fingernail.
I've heard that soapstone is often used for fireplace surrounds because it absorbs and distributes heat so well. It's like nature's own heat regulator. What about slate? It's that classic fine-grained rock that splits so easily into those thin sheets.
Yeah, slate's unique characteristic comes from how it forms. It forms from the metamorphism of shale, which is a fine-grained sedimentary rock. So heat and pressure, they realign the clay minerals in the shale, creating this layered structure called foliation. And that foliation is what allows slate to split so cleanly. It makes it, perfect for roofing tiles, flooring, even blackboards.
It's incredible how these processes can make a rock so useful. We've covered those three main rock types, but I know there's some unique rock formations that don't fit neatly into those categories. What are some of those rock outliers, as the book calls them?
Oh, there are some fascinating ones. Let's start with volcanic breccia. It's a rock formed from angular rock fragments that are embedded in a finer-grained matrix, almost like nature's rock salad, but with a a much more dramatic origin story.
Volcanic breccia. That sounds intense. How does it form?
Well, imagine a powerful volcanic eruption spewing out fragments of pre-existing rock along with volcanic ash and lava. Those fragments, often sharp and angular, get mixed and cemented together by the ash or lava, and that's what creates volcanic breccia.
It's a chaotic mix of materials, like a snapshot of those powerful forces during those volcanic events. What about a rock that's so light it can actually float?
That would be pumice, a lightweight, porous rock formed from gas-rich magma. Imagine this magma erupting and cooling so rapidly that it traps those gas bubbles inside. It's
Right.
like nature's solidified foam.
I remember using pumice stones to exfoliate my skin. It's amazing how something so lightweight can be so abrasive. What are some other uses for pumice?
Pumice is also used for, polishing surfaces and even as a lightweight building material. It's really versatile, despite its seemingly fragile appearance.
Okay. What about a rock formed from volcanic ash?
That would be tough. A rock that might not sound glamorous, but it's been used as a building material for centuries. It's essentially, consolidated volcanic ash compacted and cemented together over time.
I've heard that the Romans used tuff extensively in their construction projects.
Mm.
A real testament to its durability.
Hmm.
What are some of the qualities that make tuff a good building material?
Well, tuff is durable, it's lightweight, and it's relatively easy to work with, making it a versatile choice for building, in those volcanic regions.
What about a rock that's almost like natural glass?
You're thinking of obsidian, that glassy black rock formed from the rapid cooling of lava. Because it cools so quickly, crystals don't have time to form, resulting in that smooth, glassy texture. And because of the way it breaks, it forms these incredibly sharp edges.
I remember reading that ancient civilizations actually used obsidian for tools and weapons because of how sharp it was. It's incredible how the cooling rate of the lava can have such a dramatic effect on a rock's texture and properties.
It really shows how important it is to understand those processes involved in rock formation. Those seemingly subtle variations in temperature, pressure, and cooling rate can lead to this remarkable diversity of rock types.
Okay, the last one for this rock outliers round. What about rocks that don't even form on Earth?
You're talking about meteorites. While not technically rocks that form on Earth, meteorites are fascinating geological specimens. They're remnants of asteroids or other celestial bodies that have survived that fiery journey through Earth's atmosphere and landed on the surface.
They're like visitors from outer space, carrying clues about the early solar system. What are the different types of meteorites?
Well, the book mentions three main types: stony meteorites, iron meteorites, and stony iron meteorites. Each type gives us a glimpse into the composition of those celestial objects and the processes that formed them.
It's amazing to think that we can hold a piece of an asteroid in our hands. We've covered a lot of ground in this section, from granite to pumice to meteorites. Is there anything else about those specific rock types that stands out to you?
There's one more I think is worth mentioning: eclogite. It's a metamorphic rock that's formed under incredibly high pressures deep within the Earth, often in subduction zones where tectonic plates collide.
What's so special about eclogite?
Well, eclogite's formation gives us clues about those intense forces at play in those dynamic geological environments. And visually, it's quite striking. It's often composed of green pyroxene and red garnet, giving it this beautiful, almost Christmassy color combination.
That sounds beautiful. It's incredible how something so aesthetically pleasing can form under such immense pressure. This section has given me a whole new appreciation for the variety and complexity of the rock cycle. Each rock, whether it's a common granite countertop or a rare meteorite, tells a story about the Earth's history and the forces that shaped it.
Exactly. And remember, this is just a glimpse into that vast world of geology. There's so much more to explore, from the intricate details of mineral formation to the vastness of geological time.
Before we wrap up part 2, what piques your curiosity the most about the rock cycle? What would you like to explore further?
For me, it's the idea that, those plate tectonics, those massive forces that shape the Earth's surface, they're driven by the heat from deep within the Earth. It's like this incredible engine constantly reshaping our planet.
That's a powerful image, this engine that's always working, always changing. And speaking of change, we were talking about starting a rock and mineral collection. The book had those tips on on cleaning and displaying them, right?
Right. It suggested, always starting with those gentle methods first, like using a soft brush to get rid of that loose debris. And for those really delicate minerals, being extra careful not to use like harsh cleaning agents or even hot water.
Right, right. It's all about preserving them,
Hmm.
treating them with care, like delicate artifacts. It even mentioned using distilled water for cleaning, because tap water sometimes has minerals that could leave deposits.
Yeah, definitely worth being mindful of those little details, especially for those rare finds.
Hmm.
What about displaying the collection? Any tips there?
The book recommended numbering each specimen and including information about, where it was found. It's about like providing context, turning your collection into more than just a bunch of rocks, making it more like a curated exhibit that tells a story.
I like that. A miniature geological museum. It's a great way to learn more about each piece and even share that knowledge with others. Okay, so let's circle back to those mineral highlights from the book. Ready for some more of those unique stories?
Absolutely. I'm always fascinated by the minerals that have a bit of a dangerous side to them.
Oh yeah, me too. Well, the book mentioned realgar, that bright red or orange ore of arsenic. It's a stunning mineral, but it needs to be, handled carefully. It can actually disintegrate in light and form this yellow powder.
It's a good reminder that, not all that glitters is gold or red in this case. It's important to understand those properties, not just for identifying them, but also for handling them safely. Speaking of minerals with a history of caution, what about cinnabar?
Cinnabar, another vibrant red mineral, a source of mercury. And just like realgar, it's sensitive to light. It was used as a pigment historically, but thankfully, because of its toxicity, it's been mostly replaced with safer alternatives.
It is fascinating how some of these minerals, despite their potential hazards, have played such important roles throughout history, whether it's pigments or sources of valuable metals. What about a mineral that's less about caution and more about captivating beauty?
Oh, chalcopyrite is a perfect example. It's that brassy yellow ore of copper that often tarnishes with those beautiful iridescent colors. It really adds a touch of artistry to its appearance.
I can just picture those colors, swirling and shifting in the light, like nature's own abstract art. The book mentioned chalcopyrite has a pretty interesting crystal habit too.
Yeah, it often forms those perfectly symmetrical tetrahedral crystals. Sometimes you find it with quartz. Really speaks to those underlying patterns and geometries in the mineral world, even when those minerals form in these chaotic environments.
Okay, let's talk about a mineral that's a little less flashy, but just as important. Sulfur,
Yeah.
associated with volcanoes and forms those bright yellow crystals.
And remember, we talked about how sulfur is a poor conductor of heat. That's what makes it so unique. If you hold a piece of sulfur, it can actually feel warm to the touch.
It's those unexpected details that make exploring the mineral world so interesting. We often think of rocks and minerals as, cold and lifeless, but
Yeah.
but sulfur is different. And beyond that, it's incredibly versatile. It's got a ton of uses in industry and even medicine.
Absolutely. It really highlights that connection between geology and human innovation.
Okay, before we wrap up our deep dive, I know the book shared some other fun facts about minerals that we haven't touched on yet. Ready for another quick round?
Hit me with it.
Okay, first up, ice. Remember how we talked about ice being a mineral, even though it's, temporary? It's a good reminder that the mineral world isn't always about those hard, permanent structures.
It's about recognizing that even water, when it freezes, it checks all those boxes for being a mineral. Naturally occurring, inorganic, solid, specific chemical composition and crystal structure. Just happens to be a bit more fleeting than most.
Exactly. Okay, what about a mineral that can be, both common and extraordinary?
Oh, beryl's a great one. It
Yeah.
encompasses both that common beryl and those stunning gem varieties like emerald and aquamarine. It all comes down to those trace elements and impurities that can transform an otherwise ordinary mineral into something really special.
It's like nature's adding a little bit of magic.
Yeah.
And speaking of common, the book reminded us that feldspars are the most abundant minerals in the Earth's crust.
They're essential, forming a significant part of many rocks that we see every day, even if we don't always realize it. And they're not just about rocks, they're also key ingredients in building materials and even help with soil fertility.
Amazing how those common minerals play such crucial roles. Okay, last one for our deep dive. What about a mineral formed by by living organisms.
We can't forget about pearls. Those organic gemstones formed by mollusks are such a beautiful example. They make them as a defense mechanism. It's really a testament to how interconnected the geological and biological worlds are.
It is a beautiful reminder that nature is full of surprises, and the mineral world is definitely no exception. We've explored so much in this deep dive, from minerals as those building blocks to those beautiful gemstones and those amazing processes that create all these incredible rocks we see around us.
And remember, this is just the start. There's so much more to uncover about the Earth's history and how the mineral world works.
So keep that curiosity alive. Seek out new knowledge, maybe even start your own rock and mineral collection. Who knows what treasures you might find. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the heart of geology.
It's been a pleasure sharing this deep dive with you. Until next time, keep exploring.